What's up, crew? Welcome back to Libertalia Game Supply. I am doing a locals report for my first week playing Fire Kings. Now, Saturday I wasn't able to make it to my normal local game store, and so I had to go find a different one to play on Sunday, and so that's what I did. Now, this store that I went to, really nice people. Owner was really awesome. It's just less competitive for sure than the one I normally go to, which I was totally fine with, honestly. I'm learning a new deck, and so getting some games in, not against, 4 Terra Elements decks in a row was pretty nice. And honestly, all in all, I had a lot more fun playing with these people than I normally do playing with the hyper-competitive people, so I'll take it. I ended up going 2-0-1, which tied for first because the guy I played round 1 also went 2-0-1 because we tied round 1. And yeah, it was fine. It was a nice little result there. Now, I'll throw up on the screen here the list that I was playing. It's pretty much the list that was in the video I posted a couple weeks ago. I think there was like one minor change in the extra deck. I don't have a Bucephalus. I've been trying to find one and nobody has one. Mail's super slow right now because of the holidays, so I ordered one, but it's who knows when that's going to show up, hopefully soon. So no Bucephalus for the time being. Nobody had one to trade, just bad luck there. And so in its place, I had a Farragut in there. It's not nearly as good. It was just, something else. Essentially what I was doing is if I ended up drawing the Maximus with the Nadir Servant, you no longer have a search target to send the Garura, and so I would send the Titaniclad and then ditch the Farragut and the Garura off of the Maximus just to try to draw 2 and hopefully dig for that starter. Definitely less good. Wouldn't prefer it that way, but it's just what I had to work with there. I also didn't have a full side deck built for this one yet. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to side, so I think there were only like 10 cards in it, and a lot of it was just kind of like leftover stuff that I had sitting on the desk before I left, so that'll definitely have to get cleaned up. I got some thoughts on what needs to go in there, but all in all, it was a good time. I like the deck. It works pretty nicely so far, but we'll run through matchups real quick. So round 1, the guy I ended up tying with was playing Labyrinth. Game 1, I'm going first. I set up the board wipe. I let him get 4 monsters on board, wipe the board. He didn't have a whole lot of back row because he opened so many monsters apparently, and so I was able to clean it up pretty quick after that. Game 2, I'm going second. He seems to open better. There's a lot more back row. He's able to get to the field spell, and so he's got a lot more interaction every time I try to blow stuff up or summon stuff, and so this became a grind game, and so the deck does pretty well grinding, it turns out. There's enough recursion and enough monsters that kind of can like loop on themselves, like especially Kieran. Kieran is a nuts card because even if you are sitting on a Kieran in hand with no additional thing to pop, you can pop a Garunix to throw the Kieran there, and then they can destroy the Kieran. You put the Garunix back and get a pop, and then the Garunix will get its effect to pop something out of your deck, so you can like Arvada to put the Kieran back, and now you have your 2 level 8s. So if you have your Sanctuary up, you can still do your stuff. So Kieran is nuts, but ultimately I ended up getting out-resourced, I think. I just couldn't play through so much. I wasn't super familiar with the deck anyway, and I just couldn't figure out how to play through all the stuff very well, and so I ended up losing. Game 3, we started with only a couple minutes left, and I was not playing anything for going into time because I just didn't think about it, and I don't know what I would put in there anyway. I think Cowboy might be the way to go just because you do have those level 4s that are pretty easy to get to, and so I think what might be worth doing is maining the Rangbalia and the Barong, one of each, and then you have the Arvadas. The Rangbalia and Barong can summon themselves if something gets popped, so it gives you that extra level 4 body. Maybe you would even side in Tenkies if you know you're going into time just to try to get to that Cowboy as easily as possible, but I didn't have anything. I passed the turn on the board wipe play, figuring we're going into time and I just needed to not give up points, so pass it to him. He has no way to burn. Time runs out. That's the draw. Round 2 is against a Shark deck. I ended up going 2-1 on this one. Pretty much the same thing going first. I was able to set up the board wipe, waited for him to put a bunch of bodies on board with no extra deck monsters, and then board wiped all of it, and that pretty much stops the turn right there, so I'm loving that setup for sure right now. Game 2, I didn't open great. I think I opened the Nadir Servant and the Maximus again. The draws I got off the Maximus didn't get me to any of my starters, and so it just didn't really work out. I also was going second and had to play through the number 4 that makes everything water. which does suck a little bit in a deck that requires fire monsters. I know Garunix only requires the original attribute of the monster that gets popped to be fire, and so the Garunix could still go off, but the other ones don't. They require it to be a fire monster, and so that screws you up real bad. Also, the Stealth Kraken can pop water monsters, so it makes everything water, and then you're able to just pick stuff off, and so I kind of got screwed up by that, just not really expecting it. When I pass the turn back, he's able to clear whatever I had left there that I got stopped on. He puts Bahamut Shark on board with the Toad, so now there's another negate on board, and I get cleared out pretty good right there. Game 3 went really similarly to every other game that I won up to this point. You set up that board wipe, you board wipe at a good time ideally, and then you pretty much OTK on the following turn. If not, you're just killing as many of their resources as you can, so you just win the grind. And then round 3 I played against Raid Raptor. He goes first game 1 and makes the big chicken, the 3500 thing that reduces attack and whatever. So going second, I opened up just fine. He didn't have any negates, and so I was able to just go for the Garunix 3900 attack, threw a couple extra bodies on board, attack over the chicken, and do some damage. On his turn, I can just board wipe the whatever he ends up normal summoning. Passing the turn, he only had like 1 or 2 cards in hand, so I had it set up to do the board wipe, assuming if he gets a normal summon and a search, I don't have to negate it. You get your special summon, and I'll just wipe it before you can make an extra deck monster, and that's that. And sure enough, that's how it goes. Game 2, I open up a ton of hand traps and I think a Ponix. So I had the board wipe going second again, but I also had enough to stop him in a couple of places, which I did, and he ended up ending on like a weird board that didn't really do anything for him, and I was able to clear him the next turn. When I got past turn, I was able to put the OTK on board because you get enough pops. I think I had a Skyburn to clear out some stuff, and it just worked out in my favor this time around, so nice day. Now for some final thoughts, I thought the deck was consistent enough for being pretty budget. The Dogmatika stuff is fairly cheap, other than Maximus, and even Maximus's ultra rare prints only like $3, and Nadir Servants are like quarters because they just got reprinted. Fleur-de-lis is a common. Even the extra deck stuff is all pretty cheap, and so all of that considered, it was fairly consistent for being that way. But if you have the money, I think the Sinful Spoil stuff is probably the way to go once we get the Phantom Nightmare thing, the little pink guy, because that makes the deck pretty ridiculous. I'm not going to be buying that, but if you got the money, that's probably the way to go. I wasn't really sure whether or not I'd miss the Bucephalus by not having it. I figured it'll probably be fine without it. That's wrong. When I needed it, I really needed it, and so I'm definitely going to keep hunting for that Bucephalus. Somebody's got to mail the one I order eventually, right? I also had received a comment on the previous video to cut the Herald of the Arclight and the Sarvis because it's not that good. I don't agree. I loved Sarvis all day. It just was nice to be able to protect my stuff, and so I would definitely keep the Sarvis in there for now, but I think that has a little bit of personal preference. The deck doesn't naturally seem to deal with back row super well. You do have Skyburn to clear out back row, and you get pluses off of it, but you only have the one, and so if you aren't able to finish up the game in the turn that you Skyburn to clear out the back row, and a deck like Labyrinth that does all back row, they're just going to set new stuff, and now you don't have a way to clear it unless you're siding it, which I will be doing. Because of this, I think it's possibly worth it to main the second Skyburn, or at least keep it in the side to side it in, because I did do that. I had the second Skyburn in the side. I ended up putting it in the main in games 2 and 3 for rounds 1 and 2 because the back row was giving me some trouble. I also think it might be worth it to main or side the Rangbali for the same reason. It's a free special summon, so if you open your combo and you have like a free search in there somewhere, you can get it to your hand and summon it pretty easy, and then it gives you a negate of a spell or trap, which could be very useful in stopping them from stopping you from wiping the board. And then I also think I might try out adding the Shadal Schism little package in there. So just adding a Schism, adding a Winda, and adding an App Cologne gives you access to Winda. And so the idea would be that you set up your board wipe and also Schism, and you would just make the window with your Schism using App Cologne and Titaniclad. So you're also getting the search for the Fleur-de-lis in that instance, as well as the window shutting down special summons after you've just wiped their board. And if you're able to do all that, I would assume you just win at that point. And so I think I'm going to give that a go. I just don't, it might be not consistent enough to keep it in there because it's just kind of like a random little, sprinkling of something else. But we'll see how it goes, and I will let you all know. The next video up is probably going to be a Dark Guardian, Gate Guardian, Snake Guys, Wanted, Sinful Spoils type of situation, just because that Dark Guardian is a stupid card and I wanted to play it. So that should be up this week. Subscribe if you want to be notified when that comes out so that you can see that and give that a shot. In the meantime, happy deck building. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one. Goodbye.